Morning Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. Across from me is Mr. Charles.
Light cup captain.
Light Cup
Jesus.
Captain. Light Cup winner. How many years running have you won the Light Cup?
Smooth.
Yeah, you crushed that joke just then.
Great.
That was good.
Nobody knows. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I lost track of how many times.
You did also create the Light Cup, so you probably, there's some corruption going on there, I think.
This is above board.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my fault the other team captain doesn't know how to pick players.
I guess you found your ball every time it was lost, I bet.
Actually, I count mine out. The others don't. But, that's neither here nor there. We're not here to talk about that. What I want to really know is that you have two giant Stanleys over there. And when you switch to the other camera, just my little drinks here look like nothing.
Yeah. Why don't you try having some real drinks?
Those are like
a man.
Those are like nuclear water bottles.
These are actually called Manleys.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's what I name them. So when I drink like this, it's still manly for me to do it.
And there's no handle. There's no girl handle on it.
I don't need that handle. I carry mine like this.
And you can fit your whole hand around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Come on. You think I don't have three of them? Here's another one right here.
I'll take one of those for Christmas.
They're pretty good gifts. I just need one more.
For water content?
For my coffee. This covers my water, but my coffee's still going in plastic right now, which I hear RFK said is bad for you. So, okay, this is Good Morning Liberty. We talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of Light Cup wins, and 4 Stanleys, not
Manleys.
3 Manleys. Yeah, and then you'll have enough. So thank you guys for being here with us today. We do this like every day when we want to, which is nuts. This is episode 1673.
That's pretty crazy.
That's a lot of episodes,
It's
man.
decently consistent.
Yeah, just now starting to pick up on YouTube. Just now. I think you have to be 1,000 episodes removed from the strikes you got, and then the algorithm forgets a little bit. It starts to roll off at that time. Okay, anyhow, we got a bunch of subjects to cover. First off will be the Epstein thing. The vote is officially supposed to be today. And then we've got Trump talking about their new plan on insurance /ACA/Obamacare, which is not entirely terrible, but it's missing a couple things that I want to make a point on. I'm not like immediately against his plan, but it's missing a couple important market factors in it. They're pushing a plan for mortgages right now, which might get the market moving a little bit. SNAP, they want everyone to re-sign up for SNAP. We could talk about that. They got rid of one of Biden's airline rules that forced airlines to compensate people for delayed flights, which might sound like a good rule until you consider the economic implications of that. And I've got like a bunch of other things in here too that we probably won't get to today. We'll do it tomorrow. That's why we do a show every day. There's plenty of stuff to talk about all the time. So the first thing we got here is the Epstein vote happening. I saw this commercial last night, Charlie. Did you see this thing when you were watching Monday Night Football last night?
No.
Oh, that's too loud. I can already tell. It's going to be way too loud. Yeah, this played, a shorter version of it.
So much pain, so much pain, so much pain.
Played during the game last night.
I suffered so much pain. I was 14 years old.
I was 16 years old.
I was 16.
17.
14 years old. This is me.
This was me.
This is me.
When I met Jeffrey Epstein.
This is me when I met Jeffrey Epstein.
There are about 1,000 of us.
It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.
So it said, if you're just listening, it said 5 administrations, and we're still in the dark. And it says, call your Congress member and demand they release all of the Epstein files. Brought to you by Thomas Massey for Congress 2020. No, just kidding.
Worldwithoutexploitation.org.
So, yeah, I saw that last night during the game. And I was like, man, this is not just some internet thing on X that we're all talking about, going a little bit more mainstream, seeing an ad for it during a Cowboys game. So that's a big thing. They had another press conference this morning. Marjorie Taylor Greene had some words to say. As we talked about yesterday, she's had this falling out with Trump. Some can agree, some can disagree. I'm not as crazy upset about it as I am him going after Massey and backing his primary opponent and stuff like that. But probably still sucks for her. I mean, she, like you mentioned yesterday, she basically called Trump Jesus during the last election cycle. And she wore a MAGA hat to the State of the Union address, all kinds of stuff like that, And it's crazy.
Trump really doesn't like to be called out in public.
No.
I think he would be like, hey, why couldn't you call me first before going to the enemy about these talking points? We talked a little bit about this during the pre-show. I think that's probably true. But it also sounds like Trump wasn't answering her calls anymore. So maybe she felt like, okay, well, if you're not going to take my calls so we can do this, in the back room, then...
Which, by the way, she says she wasn't calling him. She says he's lying about that.
Okay, well...
I don't know. No way of knowing. He said, she said on that one. Here's her comments this morning.
I only take people's actions seriously. No longer words.
And what do you think the president's actions?
And I'll tell you, because I wasn't a Johnny-come-lately to the MAGA train. I was day one 2015, and there's a big difference in those Americans and those that decided to support President Trump later on. And I'll tell you right now, this has been one of the most destructive things to MAGA, is watching the man that we supported early on, 3 elections, for people that stood hours, slept in their cars to go to rallies, have fought for truth and transparency and to hold what we consider a corrupt government accountable. Watching this actually turn into a fight has ripped MAGA apart. And the only thing that will speak to the powerful, courageous women behind me is when action is actually taken to release these files, and the American people won't tolerate any other bullshit. That's
all right.
They zoomed in right
there.
She was getting to that part.
Yeah. I think she's right about a lot of that. I mean, I don't think it's just the Epstein thing that has sort of ripped MAGA apart. We talked about some of this yesterday. We talked about some of it in the pre-show today. There's a big difference between the 2024 campaign rhetoric and then sort of what has happened so far in 2025. Now it's November right now. Took office at the end of January. Still more years to get whatever it is that you wanted done. All right. That's still possible. You can't just write the whole thing off, but there's definitely a big difference, could say, in foreign policy, interventionism, fiscal responsibility, things like that. Going after the deep state by actually getting rid of many of these agencies that comprise, the deep state.
Actually reducing waste, fraud, and abuse, not just $9 billion recession package.
Yeah. And
then not just continuing and adding more to Biden spending, continuing the Biden presidency administration budget, essentially.
You could say the Epstein thing was a big loss of trust with people, where it's important that people give you the benefit of the doubt that you're still trying to do the right thing when it comes to the spending or the deep state or the whatever. But when you do the thing with the Epstein files of turns out there's nothing to see here, you lose a lot of trust with, and you lose that benefit of the doubt with people when anything else is going on. They're like, oh, actually, this is just more the same. Like you talked about rooting out all of this stuff, but it turns out, these people are still pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Nothing's really changing. And so a lot of people have, I think rightly been very upset about this. It's important to note, Trump did not campaign on releasing the Epstein files. I think he was asked about it twice. And he said, yeah, we should I'll definitely look into doing that. Or I would want to do that. And then that was it. There was never like a long, even when someone tried to make it into a conversation, Peeb immediately steered the way towards something else. And really never made it the big part.
Lots of people in his administration did, though.
Definitely.
J.D. Vance, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi.
I don't know if Pam Bondi did before. I hadn't heard anything about her before she became but Kash Patel, Dan Bongino for sure, too, really, and J.D. Vance had all talked about it in the past. And there was a part of me, I create this little mini conspiracy in my mind that they knew they weren't going to release the Epstein files, so they brought in Kash and Dan Bongino to be the ones to tell that part of the base that there was nothing to see here, because they would not have trusted that message from anyone else. And so I think they might have wrongly thought that they could bring in these two main figureheads. And surely if they told you there was nothing to see here, then you would believe them on it. And they might have made a miscalculation there that base would hear that from Kash and Dan and be like, oh, okay, well, if those guys looked at it, then, dang it.
It's like asking your kid to show your homework, show their homework.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why do you need to look at it? I told you it was done. Well, let me see it. If it's done, why don't you just show me? Be proud of the work. It's such a stupid lie. Because if there's nothing to see, then you just release it.
Yeah.
So obviously there's something to see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I agree. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, that they're probably going to withhold at least some of the documentation because it's going to be under investigation now. They're probably frivolously. That's hard to say even if you don't have a list.
Frivolously. That's how I say
it. Filing lawsuits so that some of this documentation they don't want out is going to be, under investigation. Thomas Massey's talked about that. We mentioned that a little bit yesterday. So I'll be interested to see what actually happens over the next week or so. Once they have this vote today and they're demanded to release it, what are they going to be able to hold up? Maybe nothing. I could be wrong on that.
Well, the important thing to keep in mind is that this vote today is not the official demand to release it. This still has to pass the Senate. This is a law. This is an act. And so even if it passes the House today, which it will, it still has to go to the Senate. And I believe Mike Johnson even said that he had talked to Leader Thune about some of his concerns when it comes to victim privacy and all of this. I mean, listen to what he's still talking about, how they got to protect the victims, and Massey's thing is dangerous because it's just not going to protect the victims. This is him trying to run away from cameras yesterday.
I also believe it is an entirely moot point because, as you know, the Oversight Committee is doing all their deliberate work. So,
you talked to the president. Do you advise him to get behind it?
He and I talked about it quite a bit, but I'm not going to get into the content of what we said. But his statements speak for themselves, and he has nothing. He's never had anything to hide. He and I had the same concern that we wanted to ensure that victims of these heinous crimes are completely protected from disclosure. Those who don't want their names to be out there. And I'm not sure the discharge does that, and that's part of the problem.
The president has called.
So he says, once again, I'm not sure the discharge does that, and that's part of the problem. And so I was just looking up some of the protections for the victims in this. And this says via, I pretty much go to AI for everything, and then I back it up with, double checking the research afterwards. But I just asked it how it protects victims. Like, give me the text of the bill. So it gave me the text of the bill, very short, and how it protects victims. It says explicit privacy carve-outs. The AG is authorized and effectively required to fully redact or withhold any personal identifiable information, names, addresses, medical details, etc., from victims or child witnesses' personal/medical files. If released, would be a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Ban on releasing illegal sexual material. Let's see. No blanket victim protection loophole for non-victim info. So unlike broader exemptions, Mike Johnson wanted, the bill narrowly limits privacy redactions to actual victim identifying or medical data. And then it says, every redaction must be justified in writing, published publicly, and reported to Congress, making it harder for the DOJ to over-redact under the guise of protecting victims. He probably would rather than be able to over-redact under the guise of protecting victims, would be my guess. Yeah, so that's what's in this bill. And so it's important for everyone to keep in mind, and I just brought up my post about it this morning because it's my thoughts on the matter. This passes the House today, likely, provided there's not like a terrorist attack or something that happens beforehand. I mean, who knows what they'll do to stop it from happening. But this passes the House, but it still has to go to the Senate and get signed by the president. And the Senate is likely going to try to change it in accordance with what Mike Johnson has been trying to do, which is a non-binding, instead of like mandatory release in 30 days, he was pushing like a non-binding encouragement, or like you're allowed to release it if you want to, sort of thing, for the release, with no real timetable on it and much more broad ability to redact things. And there's a high likelihood they'll try to put that into the bill. And so what I said is the Senate could pass it quickly, but something tells me they won't. They'll try to change it. I said remove or extend the deadline. The deadline's 30 days. Turn the entire bill into a non-binding resolution, which is what I just said, or add broad exemptions and redaction authority. And even if they do make changes or don't make changes, I still think it's likely they're going to hold off this bill and attach it probably to the government funding bill at the end of January in order to use that as a bargaining chip for voting for funding the government. And that
lots of games can be played.
Yeah. And so if they do make changes and then they send it back to the House, the question will be, well, is the House still going to approve those changes that the Senate makes? And of course, if people like Massey or whoever vote against whatever the Senate sends back, then they'll be the people that are trying to protect pedophiles. I'm just telling you how it's going to happen, okay? I'm just telling you how it's going to happen.
Did you hear this morning about Venezuela's weapons of mass destruction?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
They got WMDs?
I think so.
Okay.
Maduro's been cooking up something down there.
Are they 60% enriched right now?
So
is that what's going on?
That's going to happen before the end of the year, and the files won't be important.
Yeah, I know.
We'll be conscripting children to go to the Venezuela front lines. We gotta do another Normandy on the beaches of Venezuela.
My point on this matter is that, as I said in this post, is that today's likely win is just a battle. And if the Epstein thing is like your big major thing, it's just a battle, and the war is not over yet. There's still a bigger battle in the Senate and all the funny business they're going to pull with what bill they're going to attach it to. Could be an NDAA, could be a funding bill for something, could be a healthcare tied to a healthcare thing for Obamacare or whatever else it is. They could freaking tie it to re-upping FISA. I think they just did that not that long ago, so I guess not. There's no telling what they could tie it to. Or I could be totally wrong, and the House could pass it today, and the Senate could pass it tomorrow, and then all the truth comes out.
What you're saying is they're going to dip into like some 6D chess, potentially.
Yeah.
Goes beyond the 4 and 5D.
Yeah. And then there's the other things like we talked about yesterday. And you mentioned earlier, they have reopened investigations into many people. Some of the biggest names involved in this. They've reopened the investigations, and they're likely going to put something, amendment in there that they can't release any information, which I'm sure is already part of law anyway through the DOJ, that they can't release any information on an ongoing investigation. And so they'll have to finish that investigation
which we
in
know
order
could
to
take
get,
years.
Yeah, which could take years. But they'll, the President J.D. Vance promises he'll release it once the investigation's over. And then you'll get all the information. And so there's plenty of ways that this is just a small battle that is won today. Massey officially getting something done, getting the bill passed in the House, forcing it to the floor.
Oh man, this is Massey's bill.
No longer
Shoot.
do nothing, Congressman Massey.
I did like Costco put in the Fed Haters Club chat here. How could we forget this back in March? They had it. Remember the phase 1 binders with the influencers on the White House lawn? Yeah. They were all behind this. And I remember being so excited in February and March and April about Trump's presidency and like, look, he's actually fulfilling promises that him and his team have made. Phase 1, I can't wait to see phase 2. This is going to be epic. We're going to tear this system down. All of these pedophiles and, billionaires and people who control the dark part of government and the deep state, we're all going to be exposed. They're going to go to prison. This is going to be great for America and the world.
No.
Pause.
No.
Time out. What we have to do is we've got to pass the big Build Back Better build plan
Bill.
times 2.
Bill. Back Better bill.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, the beautiful big Build Back Better squared.
Okay, just a couple more things on this before we move on to some economics, and we'll see what happens with the bill getting passed today and 3 more shows today. Couple more things that'll probably be in Dumb Bleep of the Week. But the shift has happened online. And I know some of these people aren't real people. Even if they are real people, I don't even really consider them real people because they're just mindless drones, bots, that they're just repeaters of whatever the message is. And the new message that's gone out is that this was Trump pulling a 5D chess move, getting the Democrats to push for the release of the Epstein files. And now he's like, I support it. And it's just going to destroy the Democratic Party forever. And so now that's starting to be the message we're getting from like the diehard, never die MAGA base online. Let me go to a couple here. That's a funny one because this person says MTG and Massey look like fools. And that's in response to Trump supporting this bill now, telling Congress that he supports it. And this is a really funny talking point I saw a lot online because they're like, those idiots, Massey and MTG and all these others, they should have trusted Trump. Like, no, he only did this because they forced it to this point. He wasn't going to do it beforehand. That's why they had to force it to this point. And he would not have supported this bill today if Massey and Ro Khanna had not forced it to the floor for a vote. There wouldn't have been a bill for him to support. So don't be an idiot. Cat Turd has been one of the craziest ones. But he says the Epstein files will be released soon and it'll be the biggest backfire on the Democrat Party in history. I promise they're in a panic right now. Now, my favorite thing about this talking point is that now the release of the Epstein files is going to be Trump's biggest win and total destruction of the Democrat Party in history that you've ever seen, which makes you wonder why he wasn't pushing for its release immediately before this bill got forced onto the floor by Massey. And what I would like to hear from someone like Cat Turd or one of the other people is, this will be the biggest backfire on the Democrat Party in history, and it's all thanks to Thomas Massey. Thank you. Like, if that is in fact what happens, I want everyone to know it is not thanks to President Trump that the biggest backfire on the Democrat Party in history just happened. It's thanks to do-nothing Congressman Thomas Massey, and if this is the case, he's the one who destroyed the Democrat Party.
That's not what's going to happen,
defying Trump.
Yeah. Trump will be a hero if that's the case. If it was Trump, then he would have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
And, some people in the group are saying that, people attach their happiness to the lack of the files or anything like that. It actually has nothing to do with the files. Like it doesn't, who cares about the files? It has everything to do with transparency.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything to do with the government fulfilling its promises that they campaigned on, even though Trump didn't necessarily campaign on it. This was a big deal for a lot of folks. It has everything to do with fulfilling phase 2 of the phase 1 binders that they marketed to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything to do with if you don't have anything to hide, and then the government doesn't have a right to privacy.
Well, national security, Charlie.
Well, what does Epstein, what does a pedophile have to do with national security unless...
Oh, probably way more than we think.
Unless he was working for the CIA and the Israeli intelligence force. Mossad.
Yeah, probably way more than we think.
There's been some emails kind of connecting Netanyahu as the boss between, one of the attorneys that was going to be, I can't remember her name right now. I think Nikki. She was going to be up for AG during Obama, but she rescinded that. There's a lot of interesting emails that people are starting to connect the dots on already.
There's a ton of stuff with Ehud Barak, who's been well known to pal around. I think just on the point in the group on connecting your happiness to it, I think it's true for the people who pushed Trump and who voted and supported Trump because they actually think that the United States is ran by something called the deep state, or that there is a cabal of rich or connected, very powerful people that are running the world, not just because they are so much better than everyone, but because they've got blackmail on everyone, and that they're able to take decisions out of your hands and place it in theirs because they've been able to run this massive sex trafficking operation and compromise a bunch of very powerful people around the world. Like if you think that instead of us being a republic and we the people, we've just got whoever those people are in the deep state, that you looked at Trump as someone who was potentially going to come in and destroy that. And you might, even if it's not connected to Trump, you think that releasing these files or getting the truth out there is going to take a lot of those people down and destroy that operation.
Most people who were on the fence that ended up deciding to vote for Trump was because of the belief in him going after the deep state, draining the swamp. What everyone knows to take place is you have these lifelong bureaucrats, millions of them in government, that are committing fraud, waste, and abuse at your expense, by the way, which makes everyone angry. And Trump was the knight in shining armor saying, I'm willing to take on this problem that you're all experiencing. And this is just another nail in the coffin.
He even said, he's got that popular line, like, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you.
Yeah.
Like, through me, basically.
Yeah.
I'm the one here standing in the way of that.
Yeah. He took a bullet in the ear, almost in the head. And there were a lot of people. Now, I will say Trump's done a great job on the border. Like he's shut that shit down, man. And one big problem America had, which I think was the Democrats' plan, I agree with Elon Musk and Trump and everyone else, that they were going to keep importing folks to become Democrat voters. And so we would have been in a hellish landscape if that wouldn't have happened. So I think that's a really big win for the campaign. I'm not hating on Trump overall. I just think when you stop being transparent, when you stop being the knight and going after folks that everyone knows there's something up with, then people start to lose trust and faith in that you're going to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. And that is disheartening at best.
It makes you feel
fracturing and everything else that goes on, but it's disheartening at best.
But yeah, I just hope I hope there's not a bunch of funny business with this thing, and I hope he can sort of turn that around, that he's listened to how people are feeling on that. He's very receptive to the pulse of MAGA and other people in the base, and I hope he's paying attention to that. Okay, we're going to shift to one other thing, probably one other thing, and that's healthcare real quick. Just real quick conversation about fixing the healthcare crisis in America.
We'll solve this in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, what do you say? You can't listen to the show in the vacuum. The next 15, 20 minutes will complete about probably 30, 40 hours of us talking about healthcare or more. And so
built on 15 plus years experience in the financial side of healthcare.
And if you go through and you find me each one of those clips of times that we've talked about healthcare, you'll get a special prize. Okay, go find each one, put those together into one clip for me so I can have it, and you'll get a $100 gift card to the Amazon before Christmas. Just get it done.
Run all of those clips into ChatGPT or Grok and have it write a book on healthcare, and you'll be #1 New York Times bestseller
in healthcare. Okay, Trump posted out this morning, "The only healthcare I will support or approve is sending the money directly back to the people, with nothing going to the big, fat, rich insurance companies who have made trillions and ripped off America long enough. The people will be allowed to negotiate and buy their own, much better insurance. Power to the people. Congress, do not waste your time and energy on anything else. This is the only way to have great health care in America. Get it done now, President DJT."
What about people's attention to this matter?
No, he does not want to thank you for that.
Wow, just that statement, though, is really interesting in a couple of ways, which is basically like, the only way to save healthcare is to return to a free market, except the fact that they're going to be sending money. How about you just don't take it in the first place?
Yeah. Well, it's still going to be redistribution because you're going to be sending more money to people that, than what they paid in taxes.
I know, but part of it is the people will be allowed to negotiate and buy their own much better insurance. Power to the people. So part of it is a generalized free market
statement. There is a market aspect to that statement for sure.
Yes.
And this is part of a plan that people have been talking about for a while. Charlie, you were not here the day that I went over some of the parts of this general plan, but there's think tanks and people have been trying to figure out how the government can still be involved in healthcare, but not as involved as it is right now. There's plans for essentially people having kind of catastrophic insurance plans to cover things that you don't know. From Charlie's typing, so he's not hearing what I'm saying. There's catastrophic insurance plans, so they'd be cheaper. They're not going to cover every single thing that you need to do on a daily basis, but they're more catastrophic in nature.
Great for young, healthy people.
Yeah, and great. It's like for anyone, if you have to go to the hospital, you got to have a surgery, or you come down with a little cancer or something like that. Just things that are not for sure going to happen. Like, I know for sure I'm going to have 4 PCP visits this year because I have to go every 3 months to get my medication renewed. Why does insurance cover that? They know that I'm going to have to keep doing that for as long as I'm insured by them. That's not insurance. That's me asking them to pay for my health care. That's not insurance, though.
And by the way, that middleman process costs money.
It does.
So
part of the plan is cheaper insurance plans that cover not every single daily basis thing, but then you have HSA accounts where you're able to use cash to pay for certain things in the healthcare market that you might need to. Now, what he's talking about doing is using HSAs to buy your insurance plans also, which is fine. That could all be part of that. Those are, pre-tax accounts, stuff like that, tax-free money. That's good. Businesses get to use pre-tax money to buy health insurance plans for people, and everyone should. In fact, we should take all the taxation out of the entire industry. That if you're worried about costs, I would just start with, are you imposing a cost on that industry? Yeah, well, stop doing that. Doesn't make any sense, first off. And so this is like part of that plan, but I'm going to explain why there needs to be a little bit more and why what he's talking about won't actually have the effect that people have been pushing this style plan for a while. Like, it won't actually have that effect yet. Here's a clip of him kind of saying some of the same stuff.
We're negotiating with lawmakers, and I've had personal talks with some Democrats. I can't tell you who they are. I just don't want to do that. It's not fair to them. About paying large amounts of dollars back to the people. You know, this was my idea. It came up during that. You know, oftentimes under times of stress, like the shutdown, you come up with great ideas that you wouldn't have thought of before. The insurance companies are making a fortune. Their stock is up over 1,000% over a short period of time. They are taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're not really putting it back, certainly not like they should. So when I see this, and when I've seen this over the last pretty short period of time, I said, why do we just pay this money directly to the people of our country and let them buy their own health insurance? And, you know, I made that statement, and I made it a little bit cavalierly, but it sounded good. And everybody has picked up, including Democrats. And I am talking to some Democrats right now about doing that. People love it. We're going to take the money. Well, if it gets approved, we're going to take the money. We're going to pay it back to the people of our country to go out and buy health insurance. Now, they can put it in a health account. We can do it a lot of different ways. But they buy their own health insurance. They can negotiate price. And it's going to be locked, so they can't go out and buy a Cadillac. They can go out and buy health insurance.
I usually have my best ideas like in the shower.
Yeah.
But Trump seems to stressful situations, ideas just pop in his head.
Yeah. And this is not like the worst idea. The idea would be, instead of the government subsidizing, like paying directly to the insurance company, you know, covering that cost, just giving that money to the American people and them being able to go out and shop for insurance. And you can understand how, like, it's not a free market, but in a market-based system, how that could equal like lower prices and more competition for stuff, and a better deal than the government just saying, okay, well, that's your plan. Here's a cap on how much this person can pay. We'll pay the rest of it. That's all fine and dandy. Thank you. You guys keep raising your prices every year. People don't even know because we're covering all the cost of it. And everyone's unhappy. And so,
except for the insurance companies.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the insurance companies probably won't like this. Now, the problem with this plan is that we don't have a free market in health insurance. So if you had a free market in health insurance where insurance companies could decide what things they're going to cover, what they're not going to cover, how much they're going to charge based on individual risk, if they could sell across state lines, so they were dealing with 350 million people instead of, 8 million people or whatever it is, so they could broaden their risk pools and all of that. If you actually had a market-based health insurance system, then this is a better plan, because people are now bidding and they're all finding ways to offer better service, better insurance for people at a lower price. And they're not even allowed to offer you what we used to call catastrophic plans anymore because of the mandated essential health benefits under Obamacare. The catastrophic plans, like now, those essential health benefits plans have essentially become catastrophic plans because the deductibles are so high. Like, you still got catastrophic plans with super high deductibles, but it's just like that's the only thing people can afford. It's gotten so expensive.
Yeah.
And so,
well, I still think this is a terrible idea in the essence that anytime the government, even if they give it to the people, anytime that they back anything, the price just becomes what the government is offering.
Mm-hmm.
Because
actually becomes a little bit more than the government is offering.
We've seen this play out in college. Okay. Mm-hmm. When the government started offering loans to anybody for anything, uncollateralized, as much as you want. Well, what happened to college? When people started getting $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 degrees because they were guaranteed to get paid for them because the government was backing the student loans. It's in a similar fashion. Let's say the average family of four is going to get about $2,500 from the government to pay for their health insurance. Well, your health insurance is probably going to cost about $3,000 a year.
It'll always be because they know you can pay a little bit for it. They know what you can pay out of pocket per month. And so whatever the government's offering, it'll be a little bit more than what the government's offering, always. And then it'll be a little bit more than that, and it'll get a little expensive. So the government will say, well, I need to offer a little bit more money to people. And then so it's going to be now that price plus a little bit more because they know people can pay out of pocket just a little bit. Like, yeah, it's not a good system.
If they did the other thing, it would be a little bit better if they did the other things you were talking about to open up the competitiveness, which is if you could, trade insurance across state lines and other things that they have that hamper the actual free market of healthcare and health insurance, those types of things, then you might have a few companies start to spur up and be like, okay, well, I'll do your insurance, for $2,000 a year. And that way you can put the extra $500 in your health savings account to help towards deductibles and stuff. And you would start to see that price competition, even though the government is backing it, it would start to get a little bit better, but it's still worse. It's still worse than a truly free market system.
That's the big thing. Like, even if you took the college example, instead of just paying the money, say, directly for loans to the colleges, if you were to give students the money and just say, hey, I'm going to give you $20K. I don't even know what college. I'm going to give you $40K to go to college this year. A student might say, well, I'm going to go to a college that costs $45K because that's super important. Or they might say, I'm going to go to a college that costs $20K. And I'm going to pocket the rest of that money.
That other $20K is beer money.
Yeah. And so when you can actually keep the money left over, if you found a cheaper product than what the government sent you, then there is still an incentive for prices to go down on things because people can keep the extra money and spend that HSA money on their doctor's visits out of pocket. I mean, hell, there's a lot of stuff you can buy with HSAs. Actually, yeah.
It's almost unlimited.
It's a lot that you can actually buy with HSAs. And so they'll say, well, I can use this money, elsewhere. I can buy them Tylenol or cough drops or toothpaste or
you can buy a house with an HSA, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's important to your health to have shelter. So,
well, it has to be an investment property. You can't live in it, but you can still buy a house with an HSA.
Sounds like a loophole. Which is fine.
It's impressive.
I'm fine with a nice tax-free loophole like that.
And then the proceeds for your rental income, you can be used on health expenses. It's actually, rich people do this all the time. They max out their HSAs, especially if they still take a salary from a job and they're rich. They max out their HSAs and they start to buy properties with them, and then all of that rental income that they make then can go into a health savings account that is larger than what they can maximally contribute to it. And so if they have a major surgery or something like that, they've got the $50, $100 million sitting in there that they could pay for it tax free.
So you can make investments with the HSA to have more. That's interesting. So when it comes to the health insurance thing, it's super important for everyone to realize that we've made cheap insurance illegal, and our health insurance is essentially pressed down to the floor of like lowest quality service that you can get because there's no competition. There's hardly any companies that even offer this stuff anymore, but they're all, they got to sell within state lines, stuff like that. And so there's not really any competition left in the marketplace. The insurance companies, like, they can blame, these people are making billions and CEOs or whatever. But United Health, the company that's gone up over 1,000%, there's one company, he mentioned 1,000% in that, and United Health has gone up 1,200% since Obamacare. They have the highest profit margin in the industry at 3.4% net profit. Okay, they have found a way to...
By the way, people need to realize United Health Group is way more than insurance. They've bought up several software companies. They have a lot of other business ventures that are underneath that United Health Group umbrella. Mm-hmm. So if you look at just their insurance portion of the company, they're very much in line with the other majors, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Aetna, the other big players. If you look at the other parts of their business, that's where there's a little bit more difference. Now, Aetna and Cigna, these other companies own other companies underneath their umbrella as well. The one thing I would say that's pretty different for United that I see in healthcare is that they almost have at least a double denial rate compared to other major insurances.
Yeah.
They deny way more claims than anyone else, and,
And
that's by a long shot.
The denial thing, and we get disagreements on this, but we know that Obamacare essentially forces the insurance companies to cover everyone. And so in the same way that when you talk about Medicare for all or the NHS system across the pond and all that, how they end up with shortages in their care, rationing, things like that, what they end up with in Canada as well, rationing with the time and all of that. The same thing happens when you force these companies to cover everyone, even people that they're going to lose money on. They still are rationing their service. You've guaranteed a product to everyone and said that you're going to subsidize it, and they have to cover everyone, even if they're going to lose money. And so they're still rationing their service. The way that they have to ration it is they try to find every way they possibly can to deny paying people out. And that is what's happening right now.
Well, you also have to realize that the way insurance companies make money it's not really off premiums. Insurance companies make money by investing their premiums in the market. Okay. That's how they make the most amount of money. So anytime, this is not hard math, anytime you can deny paying out claims and hold on to that money for longer, whether it's 90 days, 120 days or whatever, you're probably going to make more money in the market by having that money in your coffers instead of someone else's. So that's the whole game that United's figured out. And, you look at all you have to do is go look at their balance sheets and things like that and see where they're making most of their profit. It's because that money is invested.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they make money. Starbucks does this. Target does this. When you preload those cards, the longer they can hold on to that money in your account, the more money they can make in their investment portion of the business. All of these businesses, especially major corporations, have entire departments dedicated to just investing funds, and they it's a big line of business for them, and that's how most insurance companies make money.
Yeah, because especially in days where you're forcing them to lose money on people,
right,
and screw them with their risk pools. At the end of the day, the Trump thing is we got to go. The plan he's talking about is better than Obamacare, but without legalizing more options in insurance plans, all that's going to happen is whatever money is currently going straight from the government to insurance companies is going to go to people and then straight to the insurance companies for the same plans that they have beforehand. And not much is really going to change. The only way it will change if there's more competition in the products and services that they're offering, but they're just not allowed to do that. There's mandated benefits, mandated coverage. There's only so much they can charge people based on the individual risk, like between young and old, that you can charge 3 times more, can't charge men and women differently, things like that, to where they can't find ways to offer people a cheaper product. And so if they're already at like the cheaper product, because remember, the biggest profit margin in the industry is United, which we've been talking about for a minute here, is at 3.4% net margin. They found a way to make this as skinny as they possibly can when it comes to how much they're charging, how much they're making off the product, and the bare minimum they're able to supply you with. And without legalizing other forms of insurance in the market, there's not a lot of room for market competition in this, unless someone just wants to voluntarily lose money and go out of business in a few years. And those are like the only options that there are. But like it's the beginnings of a good plan. I'm just worried that what'll happen is they'll do this, and then people say, well, nothing's different. In fact, there's ways that became worse, things that we're not even thinking about right now. And see, this doesn't work, so why we need Medicare for all. I'm like, no, you got to go after the regulations on the insurance industry, or this kind of thing doesn't change anything at all. And I think you want to change things for the better, and you're going to have to.
What's hilarious about what Trump said in his purely populist form is, he said, I kind of said this cavalierly, and but it sounded good, and people feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime the government sends you a little check in the mail, you feel good. And Trump knows this. This is why he wants to give you the tariff stimmy check. He's going to give you your healthcare stimmy check.
Even if it's the same amount they've been paying to the insurance company or less that they didn't send to you, and then you give directly to the insurance company, you
feel better.
You just feel better because they sent you that money and you use it to buy insurance.
It's genius.
And then you're purely still just mad at the insurance company because their product is so expensive and you're the ones paying for it right here with the money they gave you.
Yep.
And you shift all the blame over to them and remove any blame on the millions of regulations that exist from
and it's
the
also,
government.
it's, it just doesn't actually fix the real problem. Now, maybe when they do this money package, they'll also rescind some of the regulations. Hopefully. That's the hope. Because if they don't do that, it does nothing to fix the underlying problem. And
maybe they'll be able to.
We are so far removed from a free market healthcare system that it's become an absolute disaster. It is a big problem. The Democrats are right about that. Republicans are right about that. The American people are right about that. It is entirely way too expensive and cumbersome. And it's just, you wouldn't even believe the things that have to happen on the back end for healthcare to actually function. And it's largely due to regulations and things that have been put in place that healthcare companies and insurance companies have to comply with. That doesn't happen in any other industry. It's just absolutely absurd. So anyway, more to come on that. Hopefully, I think if we can reduce some of the regulations and give people the money, we're going down the right way. So I would support that. At least we're moving the Trump train in the correct direction.
It's closer to going in the right direction.
If there's no reduction in regulations, and we're just gonna, instead of giving money to the insurance company, we're gonna give it to the people. It does nothing except make people feel good.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Nothing actually changes.
All right, y'all. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it around. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go to GodHatesFeds.com or join GML.com. Be part of the Fed Haters Club, where you can interact with us, get some pre-show, some other perks. I think Nate sometimes releases special codes. Sometimes you do. Special codes for merchandise.
That is technically accurate. There are codes in the group for discounts on merch.
Yeah.
We will, and that's for you. We will blatantly lose money on all of those transactions that take place.
It's kind of like the, your annual credit card fee. Sure, you're paying $7 a month, but you're going to get more than that in benefits.
You get a discount if you use it.
Yeah. It's on you, though.
They don't roll over.
So join gmail.com, sign up. Visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support this show. If you do all of that, we'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, I hope you have a good day and a good morning, Liberty.